Welcome back to the Love Your Story podcast. Once upon a time, there was you. And then what happened? When we are young, we pattern our life dreams and expectations after the stories we hear and the movies we watch. And often, in American culture, Disney plays a major role in that. While the Disney rendition of Fairytales is a butcher job of the originals, children only know what they are shown and taught. And so we head off into our lives picturing a prince and a princess and a happily ever after. We all want love and magic and riches. That sounds good. I'll take some of that. I learned this week when I hit the streets with my microphone that when I asked people how their life was like a fairy tale, that the go-to mindset was to automatically think about how it was like a happily ever after. Fairy tale seems to equate with perfection or the ideal. Stay tuned to hear about my man on the street quickie interviews where people got to share how their lives were like fairy tales. And we're going to talk about, as we explore this idea, how our lives are more like fairy tales than we actually think, because it's not just about the happily ever after.
Stories are our lives in language. Welcome to the Love Your Story podcast. I'm Lori Lee, and I'm excited for our future together of telling stories, evaluating our own stories, and lifting ourselves and others to greater places because of our control over our stories. This podcast is about empowerment and giving you, the listener, ideas to work with in making your stories work for you. Story power serves you best when you know how to use it.
When I first started getting the responses and everyone was going straight to the happily ever after scenario, I had to ask, haven't you ever read an entire fairy tale? What about the challenges along the way? What about the problem the main character faces in the story? Rapunzel was a prisoner who wanted freedom, and Cinderella was enslaved and wanted a little recreation, a little love. The shoemaker and his wife were on the verge of financial ruin and desperately needed money to buy food. The princess and the frog had lost something very important to her, her gold ball. Goldilocks was tired and hungry and just wanted a place to crash. The main character in the fairy tales wants something, and they are faced with major obstacles. Fairy tales aren't just about happily ever afters. They are about a hero or a heroine facing heartbreak, challenge, disappointment, often the death of a parent. We love the stories with happy endings, but the stories are only interesting and beloved because the main character found their way through the struggle to the happy ending. This is the part of the stories that smacks a bit more of real life. We will always have challenges because those are the steps to growth and understanding. Challenges? Check. Let's talk about more ways our lives are actually like fairy tales. One of the things I love about fairy tales is the way that magic shows up to help. Whether it's a fairy godmother or a magic elf or a frog or simply the thing that the person wanted. There's a pattern that aligns closely with the universal laws of creation. As we desire, believe we will receive, envision and focus, then magic starts to show up to help us take something from an idea into literal creation. I love the fairy godmothers, the serendipity, the coincidence, the unplanned for things that show up just when I need them. I love these because it makes life seem so unpredictable and wonderful and supported by goodness. How wonderful to be able to believe that magic will show up. We all have those people who we turn to in tough times. The people who show up in a pinch. Sometimes it's the small and simple things, the books, the advice, the workshop, the tip, the connection, the idea that glitters with magic and takes us where we need to go next, our one step forward down the path. Pay attention to the magic in your life, because this is one of the best part about fairy tales and the best part about real life. Celebrate how much Your life really is like a fairy tale with this magic that goes on. And earlier, the very beginning of the podcast 2 years ago, I did an episode, it was episode 10 on serendipity. Tune into that for some great discussion on this idea of serendipity and magic coming into our lives. So, our lives are also like a fairy tale because aren't there always magical pets and animals in those fairy tales? And we also, if we choose, have wonderful pets. And while they may not be singing and talking to us in our native tongue, they do love us unconditionally. And whenever life gets rough, they are there to support and to cuddle. Have you ever noticed that in fairy tales there is also almost always some type of enchanted forest? Well, in our lives, we also have nature. We have botanical gardens and backyards and wilderness and hiking trails, fresh air. Head into nature and feel the magic. One of the lessons of fairy tales is that beauty is often buried. Things are not as they appear. You remember these? Beauty and the Beast? A beautiful face doesn't equate with a beautiful personality, and an ugly face doesn't equate with an ugly personality. The lesson here is the importance of not judging. What about true love? Most fairy tales involve relationships of the romantic kind because this is something the human heart longs for. We long for love and acceptance and someone who sees our beauty and values us. It's one of our greatest longings. And if you haven't found this in your story, remember to start by looking at others with this same eye for non-judgment, for love and caring, and then be grateful for all the love that you do have in your life. This will create more. If you want more love in your life, remember that love begets love. So many ways that our real lives are like fairy tales. I did something for this episode that I've wanted to do for a while, this going out on the streets of Salt Lake City, Utah, taking my microphone, asking people man on the street style to get their opinions and their ideas. And the question I asked this time was how their lives were like fairy tales. So here's what they had to say. People on the street, join us. Okay, I've cornered 4 people here. This is for the Love Your Story podcast. And how is your life like a fairy tale? Okay, I'm going to give you each a chance. What's your name?
Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
How's your life like a fairy tale?
Because I'm with the love of my life. That's how.
She's with the love of her life. Nice. Okay, what's your name?
I'm Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Yes.
How's your life like a fairy tale?
I don't know. I now live in these apartments that I've dreamed of living in that were my family's, and now we're fixing them up, and I live with Ashley and Jake. We all live in this
So you live in a
place.
castle?
Kinda, yes. Yes. I'm like a Disney princess.
Excellent.
She is.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm Michael.
Hi, Michael. How's your life like a fairy tale?
It's never boring.
Why? Are you fighting any dragons? That's what I want to know.
Any dragons?
Yeah, what's the dragon you're fighting right now?
Oh, school, I guess. But
What
that's
is
not
it?
very school.
School.
It's not the exciting part, I guess. I don't know.
Rodents of unusual size? You got any of those in your life?
I work at a hospital, so we deal with a lot of a lot of unruly diseases, I guess. Those can kind of be dragons, I guess. I don't know. Depends
So
on-
I think the dragons in our lives are the things that kind of the nemesis, right? Like we're going along, we're trying to find the magic elixir, and the dragon is the rough stuff that happens to us that we have to make it through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anything like that.
I mean, like last year I was homeless, and now I'm where I'm at now. It's been an exciting time.
Okay, homeless is huge, right? How
Yeah.
did you get through that?
Just, I don't know, I used to go to the gym, work out a lot, and use that to shower, and then I saved up enough money, got together with my sister, got an apartment, things like that.
So one step at a
Reconnected
time,
with
you
some
just
old
get back
people
out
in
of
my
it.
life. Yeah, took it one step at a time one day.
Congratulations.
So that was a lot.
That's huge. That's huge. That's a big one. Like that's the dark swamp, and you, as the hero of your story, made it through that space.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what happens next, I guess.
Right?
I don't think my story's over, so.
Oh, heck no! Here you are. You're alive. Thank you. How is your life like a fairy tale?
Probably just, I would say, because I got all the stuff that's happening in my life right now, I got just by luck. Like, I got everything I've ever wanted so far, and it's just going upwards and better.
Okay,
Just
how do you do that? Like,
out
do you
of sheer
picture?
luck.
Do you picture?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing-
That's the thing is I
nothing's
brought
luck,
it into
right?
my life
Yeah, how?
by, focusing on it.
Really?
Energy.
Do you visualize?
Energetically. Yeah, I have, and I brought that into my life through that,
Sweet. So
And
what?
I feel like it's almost all happened by accident. Like, I didn't mean for anything to happen, but it's all kind of fallen into place.
If you visualized it, you meant for it to happen, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I just mean, like, I don't feel like I did a lot of work to do that. It
so
just
do you
kind
have
of
a fairy
happened.
godmother? Is that what I'm hearing?
Was it her? Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
How is your life like a fairy tale?
Oh, boy. I live a fairy tale. I live on a magic island.
Do you?
I work in a crystal store.
Nice.
And I help people raise their vibration.
Ooh.
So I do. I live a magical fairy. In fact, where I live, fairies bring you.
Tell me more.
Ferry boats. It's the only way to get to my island is a ferry boat.
Really?
Yeah. I live up in the San Juans. So my life is a fairy tale.
Oh, I've been wanting to go there. I want a kayak.
Oh, come. I have a private beach.
Oh.
There's a key to get in.
Sweet.
You didn't
It's a good thing I stopped to talk to you.
right? Because my life really is a fairy tale.
That's awesome. So,
Prince Charming and a couple dogs.
okay, so if your life's a fairy tale, most fairy tales, you're the hero of the story. Who's the nemesis, or what is the nemesis? What's the resistance?
Fear. There's love and fear. Fear is a resistance. Because
How-
love is all there is.
How do you fight it?
Raising your vibration. And raising your vibration, you can do that by many, many things. You
And how
can
do you-
sing and dance and drum and garden and do anything that brings you joy, raises your vibration. Hanging out with like-minded people. Finding your people.
I love that. Thank you. Man on the street. How's your life like a fairy tale?
I married a princess.
Yay! That's awesome. Okay, that's all I need from you. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so.
Well, she wasn't a princess until I kissed her, and no, I don't know.
She was a frog.
She's a frog. No, that's what she'd say to me.
Okay, so you're the hero of your story. How did you get the princess?
How did I get the princess?
Yeah.
My gosh, I have no idea. That's a mystery. 27-year
fairy
anniversary
godmother?
was Monday, and I'm still trying to figure out why she said yes.
That's awesome. Good for you.
No, that's not very positive. I should think higher of myself. I'm sure I deserved it. So I treated her like a princess, and then she showed up like a princess.
I like that.
Okay, good.
Cool, thank you. Woman on the street, how is your life like a fairy tale?
I would say I get to do what I love every single day
How did
and
you
love
make that
every
happen?
minute of it. I found something that I'm an artist, and I found something that felt really healing to me and gave me almost, I don't know, doing art it's almost meditative to me. And so, yeah, I just started doing it and I loved it so much, and I started getting better and better at it, and then people started buying it, and the next thing you know, I get to do what I love.
That's awesome. So in all the fairy tales, there's always like the dragon or the nemesis or the hard thing you have to overcome. What's yours?
I have no head for business whatsoever.
So how do you overcome it?
I hired my mother as a manager and accountant. So she gets to do all the stuff I hate, and she loves it. It gives her a lot of purpose to join in with me in this business. So
That's awesome. So what's
you.
the magic you're seeking?
fulfillment on every level.
And
you know,
you're finding it every day.
I am. I'm getting closer and closer every day.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woman on the street, what's your name?
My name is Tori.
Hi, Tori. My name's Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Okay, how is your life like a fairy tale?
My life is like a fairy tale because it really didn't have a really great beginning. My childhood was really crummy. But the wonderful thing is that God was there and has helped me through that. He not only was there all the time for me, but also in the years when I've been trying to forgive and let go and go on with life and be happy and just let go of all the past stuff that was crummy. He really has been there for me. And it took me a long time to heal. And really the thing that did it was God. I finally was able to let go of all the bitterness. And now when I see this person who did so many bad things in my childhood, I can give him a hug and tell him I love him, and I feel it. There's no bitterness. I don't carry it around on my back like I did all those years. And I am so grateful. My life is like a fairy tale because I have come to happiness, and totally it's because God has helped me.
It kind of sounds like God is the role of the fairy godmother, right?
Oh, I love that.
Like
yes.
the one to
Only
touch
even
it
better.
and to help you create, to make things beautiful that weren't beautiful. With the
Right.
touch of his magic.
Kind of like the Cinderella where she sat in the ashes and then afterwards she was really super happy and things turned out well. There was just a little bit more to the story than hers.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Lori. I loved it. Thanks.
What's your name?
My name is Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. How is your life like a fairy tale?
My life is like a fairy tale because it has a plot. Like, there's been a lot of resistance and a lot of things that were unexpected, but I think that's what shapes a character.
Totally.
It makes you be who you are.
That's how you get all of the strength and the development of your character. That the hero on any journey, if they don't have battles to fight and dragons to fight, how do they ever earn the magic elixir?
Yeah, they
Right?
don't.
You don't.
Yeah, I really think that my life, definitely I grew up in a dysfunctional home. I grew up in just like hard circumstances, and I've always felt like it's been an upward battle, and I've always had to like go against the grain. But I really feel that is what makes my character grow and makes me a stronger person. I was watching the movie Tangled, and she's stuck in a castle, she doesn't even know, what she doesn't know, that she's been there, and, this witch is just using her. But really, the path comes to her. And at the end of the day, because she's a good person, she receives exactly that. And I believe the same is true for those of us that are, we are good people, and not so good things probably occur to us, but our path will find us, and we will actually have everything that we deserve and the happiness that we deserve, because that is the reason why we were created in the first place.
You guys are so great. I love this. So, what is one of the biggest dragons that you've had to fight along your journey?
I would definitely say just overcoming maybe just passed on struggles, generational, just breaking the chain. Both my parents are Mexican, so a lot of the values and a lot of things I very much disagreed with.
Such as?
Such as just limiting beliefs, like education, not thinking that you're good enough, or even just sex roles, and just even seeing a dysfunctional marriage. I believe that marriage can be beautiful, and it doesn't have to be this dysfunctional, terrible thing where two people disrespect themselves, and then the children get to witness that and then pass it on to their family. I believe that breaking the chain and saying I was parented this way, but because I was parented this way, that is the exact same reason why I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to make sure that from here on, our ancestral line changes, and we don't hurt the ones we love.
I love your perspective. I love the way that how old are you? You're pretty young.
I'm 28.
Okay, so you're 28 and you can look at your life story filled with these things and see it as a hero's journey and see it as a fairy tale and notice that all of those hard things are character building instead of being bitter or staying in a victimhood space about it. So that's really fantastic. Kudos.
Yes.
I like your perspective a lot. Thank you.
I agree.
What's your name?
My name is Crystal.
Hi, Crystal. Tell me how your life is like a fairy tale.
I think life is like a fairy tale in that we all have to go through our own battles. We all have to face our foes, and we all have to realize that there's that inner strength. And I especially love the way they've redone the fairy tales lately, because it shows the women as they struggle and realize who they are and where their strength comes from.
Give me an example.
So, like Cinderella, the new Cinderella. Have you seen that one?
No. Maybe. How new?
So the theme on that was have courage and be kind. Yeah. And her mom taught her that, which I love too, because the moms are out of a lot of the fairy tales. So I like how the mom became a main theme in Cinderella. She died, but she taught her daughter before she died to have courage and be kind. And so throughout all of her challenges, she kept reminding herself to have courage and be kind. And there was one point in the show where she was broken, and she just cried to her mom and said, "I'm sorry, I can't do anymore. I can't have courage and be kind." And that's when her fairy godmother showed up. And I think that's a good example of when we feel like we're broken and we can't do it anymore, that someone else shows up in our life to help us through the really hard times.
So does that apply to your life? Because we're talking about how is your life like a fairy tale?
Yes, so totally applies to my life, where I feel like I've gone through trials that have broken me, and it wasn't until I got to that point and was able to overcome that I understood who I was and my strength.
Cinderella.
Yes.
Cinderella. Crystalella. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This romantic idea of your life as a fairy tale, of you as the hero or the heroine of an intriguing tale, is fun to play with. How is your life like a fairy tale? Your challenge this week is to think about your own personal role in your own personal fairy tale. Do you have the support of loving animals or fairy godmothers? Does magic show up just when you need it, an idea or a book or a person? Do you face a challenge that requires courage and ingenuity? Have you found your prince or your princess? Do you live in a wonderful cottage or castle? Just for a moment, realize how much your life is like the beloved fairy tales and think to yourself, if this were a fairy tale, what would the brave protagonist do now? How do I write the best life story moving forward? What can I do to create connection? Think about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right? She's in a pinch, but she goes out, creates possibility, and makes new friends. What can I do to create possibility? Think Cinderella. She wishes and hopes and envisions and works hard and doesn't complain, but she takes risks and creates that possibility. And what do I do to create self-care in my life? What courageous thing can you do to move your story forward in all the best possible ways? Have a great week this week. Thank you for tuning in. If you're a fan of the show, you'll love my book, Life, which stands for Living Intentional and Fearless Every Day. It's got the 21 life connection challenges that help you create connection and possibility and self-care. It's an organized way to create those wonderful things intentionally. It's available on Amazon, or there's a link on loveyourstorypodcast.com where you can also access all the other episodes. Have a great week considering how your life is like a fairy tale and what that means to you and what you can do as the protagonist of your story to make your story even better. What brave thing can you reach out and do? What fear can you overcome? We'll see you next week.